What does the E in Iluna Street stands for? Let's find out!
In this very special episode of Timber City Streets, we touch our toes on holy ground. San Jose Street and Iluna Street are some of the streets in Butuan City that have religious origins. So maybe after watching this episode, you might just get saved from bad programming. But hey, in any case, you might just learn a thing or two about the streets here in Butuan City. How do you get around Butuan City? Well, you simply tell the tricycle driver the name of the establishment you need to go. But what if the place isn't that famous? And what if you're not from around here? Well, you of course tell the driver the street of where you want to be. And because Butuan is a highly urbanized city, around 300 plus square miles, there are a lot of places to get lost in. This is Timber City Streets, the show that gives me wood. Literally. San Jose Street is named after Saint Joseph, the patron saint of the Diocese of Butuan. Joseph is a figure in the Gospels who was married to Mary, Jesus' mother, and in the Christian tradition was Jesus' foster father. Joseph is venerated as Saint Joseph in the Catholic Church. San Jose is a one-way main street which adjoins Estreluna Street, A.D. Curato Street, M. Calo Street, and M.V. Tupa Street from west to east. Starting from the east, you can find the Butuan Maternity Hospital and Puriculture Center. This hospital was founded in 1932 by the Honorable Elisa Villanueva Rosales Ochoa, the very first registered nurse in Butuan. Congresswoman Rosales Ochoa chalked up many firsts in her lifetime. Some of her significant achievements include being the first elected Congresswoman of the Philippines representing the District of Agusan, and was one of the first Filipinos to receive the Florence Nightingale Medal Award given by the International Committee of the Red Cross. As Congresswoman, she was the only member to declare war against the Americans during the Japanese occupation. As a representative, she sponsored a bill known as the Ochoa Bill, later called the Republic Act No. 704, thus provided for the establishment of maternity and charity clinics in every municipality throughout the country. She was also the recipient of the Golden Award by the National Puriculture Centers for the establishment of the Butuan Maternity and Children Hospital and the Northern Mindanao School of Midwifery. She was president of her hospital since 1949 until her death on September 20, 1978, at the ripe age of 80. Behind me is the old Maya Theater, the last standing old cinema house here in Butuan. Now they've chopped up the inside into these modern business establishments, but the facade still remains the same. And you can still see the modern art painting on the wall here that they painted on the old Maya Theater way back in the 50s. And according to this picture, almost across the road is the Dalisay Theater. Both cinemas showed both local and international films, but years later, they also showed more risque films, if you know what I'm saying. Along the street are medium to small supermarkets and cell phone stores. If you or your friends are planning to stay in Butuan City, choose the one that's in the heart of it. Almont City Hotel has been offering convenience, comfort, and value for business travelers for more than 3 decades. Hey! Another Almont in Butuan. And this one's a city hotel. Step inside and experience the Almont ambiance that's uniquely contemporary with a high-ceiling foyer that extends to an alfresco courtyard garden. Their cage chandeliers at the entrance perfectly welcome the guests with charm and style. Its new and well-designed rooms speak of that distinct Butuanan warmth and hospitality that can only be found in Almont brand hotels. food experience at the City Cafe restaurant offers a wide variety of Asian and local favorites, from comfortable and familiar to exquisitely exotic tastes to delight your palate. Almond City Hotel will definitely make your stay an experience you won't soon forget. Madyaw na pagkanihon, Almond City Hotel. When we come back, we'll continue with our walk to E. Luna Street. Oh, hello. What took you so long? Gotta have some carbs first before continuing with our walk on E. Luna Street. From south to north, E. Luna Street adjoins with J.C. Aquino Avenue, Honorable Jose B. Azote Street, Lopez Jaina Street, Villanueva Street, and G. Flores Avenue. The street was formerly known as Concepcion Street in reference to the Immaculate Conception. Now, what is the Immaculate Conception, you ask? Well, the Immaculate Conception is the conception of the Blessed Virgin Mary free from the original sin by virtue of the merits of her Son, Jesus Christ. The Catholic Church teaches that God acted upon Mary in the first moment of her conception, keeping her immaculate. Now, the street's named after a former city councilor and notable timber businesswoman. E. Luna and her family also used to own the Nara Hotel, which in the 60s and 70s was popular with visiting Japanese businessmen who used to buy logs in Agusan. The street is mostly lined with business establishments such as hardware stores, clothing shops, flea markets, shopping centers, toy shops, bookstores, banks, fast food restaurants, bakeries, and clinics, including the newest business center owned by FSUU, which is located on the corner of Esther Luna Street and Honorable Jose B. Azote Street. Now, on the south part of the street, you'll find St. Joseph Cathedral, a beautiful and historical landmark on E. Luna Street. Now, St. Joseph Cathedral was built for many reasons, but chief among them was for worship, for the glory of God, and mission. And today, it stands as a repository of our shared history and as a living building that serves the whole community. Now, the cathedral's mission was built by the Jesuits in 1596. And back when it was still an old parish church, it was actually blessed as the first church in Mindanao back in 1597. The chapel installed St. Joseph as its titular patron in 1622, and then St. Francis de Sales as second patron in 1792. At present, the church was consecrated in 1954 and was elevated as a cathedral by Pope Paul VI in 1967. One of the most notable things that happened here is that it was this church where the very first Easter in the country was held. Friar Pedro Valderrama presided over it with none other than Ferdinand Magellan himself and his men. The cathedral was appointed as the host church for the Great Jubilee in the year 2000. On May 19, 2009, Reverend Father Sigfred Dostos read the decree of the establishment of St. Joseph Cathedral as a diocesan shrine during the Pontifical Fiesta Mass that was approved by His Excellency Juan de Dios Mata Florida Pueblos, Catholic Bishop of Butuan and parish priest of the cathedral. The old St. Joseph Cathedral is considered as one of the main churches in the Catholic Diocese of Butuan and one of the best churches to visit for tourists for its interior and archaeological beauty. Behind the cathedral is where you'll find the burial ground of two of the most beloved bishops of Butuan, the Most Reverend Zacarias C. Jimenez and the Most Reverend Juan de Dios M. Pueblos. Born on November 5, 1947 in Inabanga, Bohol, in the Philippines, Bishop Jimenez was ordained to the priesthood on April 17, 1973 at the St. Joseph Cathedral in Tagbilaran. He was consecrated as bishop on January 6, 1995 at the St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. He served as bishop of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Pagadian, Philippines from the 2nd of December 1994 to the 11th of June 2003. One of the most influential men in Butuan City is without a doubt the Most Reverend Juan de Dios M. Pueblos. In his younger days, he was a political activist during the Marcos regime, and on his diocesan assignments, stayed on the side of poor people seeking reprieve from military injustices. He was ordained as a priest on March 28, 1968, and spent the next 17 years serving in pastoral and educational assignments. On April 29, 1985, Pope John Paul II, who's now a saint, appointed him auxiliary bishop of Davao. His episcopal ordination was on June 24, 1985, and on February 3, 1987, he was appointed bishop of Kidapawan. and Pope John Paul II appointed him second Bishop of Butuan on November 24, 1995. He was installed on January 17, 1996. Until his death, Pueblos was a member of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, or the CBCP, Episcopal Commission on Family and Life, and Vice Chair of the Permanent Committee on Public Affairs. Now don't go away, we'll continue with our journey of Iluna Street when we return. Besides the cathedral, the street is the home of the Butuan Diocesan Museum. It's found in St. Joseph Cathedral Rectory. This museum has collections of religious and liturgical items used by Catholic missionaries in Negrusan and Surigao. There are vestments, monstrances, liturgical documents, a hardwood holy water font, an 18th century charcoal-fired host maker, a 6-foot-high candle holder, religious statues, and other religious artifacts. You can visit the museum by arranging an appointment. Then there's this Rizal monument, one of the precious art items that was made before the Second World War. It was made back in 1935 by famous Filipino sculptor Garcia Velarde. And it's so precious, in fact, that it actually qualifies as an important cultural property under the Cultural Heritage Act of 2009. It's amazing to think how Catholicism has impacted our city's origin and growth. Naming our streets after saints and biblical events just shows the relationship our city has with the Catholic faith. Now, despite it not being the first faith in our city, Catholicism will always be deeply linked to Butuan City because we have many of its firsts. Today, Butuan plays host to many faiths, and we have the ability and freedom to choose the faith that we want, as well as the freedom to practice the faith in our everyday lives and to worship as we see fit. Even going so far as to name our streets after our faiths just to emphasize their importance in our daily lives and in our community. And to officially end the episode, the E in Iluna Street stands for Esther. And now you know.